What's going on, guys? Welcome to April's episode of Plus Club, the show where we play the games on PlayStation Plus throughout the month, and at the end of the month, we talk about them. My name's Seth, and joining me today is Sarah to my left to your right, and up in the box, we got Chevy yet again. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Hopefully, you guys are excited to talk about Slay the Spire, Hood, Outlaws, and Legends, and Spongebob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Also, quick reminder that Godfall is our game of the month, and we'll be discussing that on Game of the Month in about a day or so. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Before we talk about the games we played this month, let's talk about the games we're going to play next month. And those are FIFA 22, Tribes of Midgard, and Curse of the Dead Gods, which, if you don't know what that is a top-down, I guess two of these games are top-down dungeon crawler. Tribes of Midgard is, I think, up to 8-player cooperative roguelike, something like that. And FIFA's FIFA. If you don't know what FIFA is, educate yourself. What do you think about these games? So let me jump in.
I don't know. I don't really have a lot of strong feelings for any of them, to be honest. So, I'm curious about the two non-FIFA games, just to the extent of I haven't played them, but I don't have any drive either.
Non-FIFA games.
So
that's a genre, dude. All games. Yeah, as always, I don't play sports games ever. I've never gone out of my way to play them. So I am curious to see the state of FIFA at this point, FIFA 22. So I do have a curiosity. I'm not excited in any way, and I probably won't enjoy it, but I would love to be surprised. Tribes of Midgard is a game I've almost bought many times, but it just isn't strong enough for me to pull the trigger. So I've probably made the joke it's going to be a PlayStation Plus game. And so here it is. So I'm stoked to try it and not having to have bought it. And then Curse of the Dead Gods I've heard about, but I've never heard strong opinions on it. I've just heard it exists. I had to look it up just now to see what it is. It's, like I said, it seems like a top-down dungeon crawler, single player, so that's less exciting. And it's like an endless dungeon type thing. You just keep going, I guess. So I feel like this month is a bit throwaway, but that's fine because we gotta still find out what our game of the month is for May, and this will help with that probably playing that game, whatever that game is. Though I'm hoping one of them is awesome.
Catch up.
Yeah, for sure. And the best thing about May for me for this show specifically, I haven't played all three of these games. So that's going to be fresh reviews, at least coming from me, because typically, every time we get games on PlayStation Plus, I've played 1 to 2 of them. I own them typically. So I'm just stoked other people get to play them. But, I always enjoy playing the games I haven't played, and this month will be that completely for me. So that's cool. Sarah?
I don't really feel strongly about any of these games either. I guess Tribes of Midgard is probably one that I'm interested to finally try, because I've also browsed it many times and not actually bought it, peeped it. It seems underwhelming, but the month, not Tribes of Midgard, but
by proxy that would make it underwhelming as well.
Sure.
So yeah, it's an underwhelming month. Anything else you guys want to say on those games?
Nope.
Nothing?
The only thing I was going to say is it is good that they're giving a month for people who are fans of sports games, because I know FIFA has a large following. So.
Yeah, that's something that people don't, I think about when they think about this isn't the game I wanted this month. And it's but there's people who like sports games. They like sports. Sure. So you gotta balance that and try and, make everybody happy. And I think this is a pretty decent spread, even though it's 2 top-down games in FIFA. But yeah, I mean, it's a good point. All right. Well, let us know in the comments what do you guys think about FIFA 22, Tribes of Midgard, and Curse of the Dead Gods. Are you excited to play these games? You're not excited to play these games? If you have played any of these games, should we be stoked or should we not be stoked? Have you played Tribes of Midgard? Have you played Curse of the Dead Gods? Have you played FIFA? And let me know everything you think about in the comments below. All right, we got some games to talk about, and those are Slay the Spire, Hood, Outlaws and Legends, and SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Let's start with Slay the Spire, and let's start with Chevy. What did you think of Slay the Spire in April?
I had a pretty decent idea of what I was getting into with this, just because I had previously played a game called Monster Train, and it was touted as similar to Slay the Spire. So I did not, obviously start with Slay the Spire. So this was actually my first time getting to try this game, and for all intents and purposes, it was exactly what I expected it to be when I hopped into it. I do think it is a little more robust than Monster Train, at least when I played and remember of Monster Train. I also think it is a bit harder. I think I ended up like actually completing a map in Monster Train in about 2 to 3 games, versus like Slay the Spire just wants to kick your butt over and over and over again. So pretty crazy, but it's not a bad thing. It's meant to be replayable and to go back through. And I never felt bad about it because I already knew the nature of the game. I think if I would have went into a blind, maybe that would have been discouraging. But knowing that you're gonna repeat it over and over again, death is just an inevitability. So yeah, I like that it has multiple characters that have different play styles and stuff like that too. It kind of reminds me in the same vein of like, it's a weird example, but like the loop hero, where you can kind of find something that fits your play style, but the gameplay loop is pretty similar still. I do really like that it has random events. It mixes up your run through, so when you run into those question marks and you're like, okay, am I gonna get into a fight? Is it a store, or am I gonna get to rest here, or am I just gonna get stolen from for no reason at all because the game just hates me? So yeah, game starts out real simple. You have a couple cards and it's real easy to understand, but then as you start getting into the second and third part of the map, in the first zone or whatever, you quickly find out that the limited amount of cards you have, you will not survive. So you need to unlock more and more types of cards and figure out a play style to kind of push through. And I like that about it because it forces you to actually think a little bit.
I
overall,
like
I
that.
had a good time with it.
It's essentially a roguelike with cards, but you could have like a good run and a bad run, and it does feel like it limits you a bit based off of how many cards you actually have unlocked. But also, if you have a good run, you can get further and further into it. But it does definitely have a progression that feels like the longer you play it, the further you're going to get, of course. So
yeah, well, and when your default cards are like, I'm gonna pull some numbers out of thin air here, but let's say you have an attack of 6 and you haven't gotten anything else, and you've done a poor job of upgrading your cards, and you get to the third map somehow, and also you run into a dude who's got 40 armor, and you're not getting through that in any time soon, and he's just hitting you like a truck. So very important to figure out how to get something to deal with that, because you'll run into that guy at some point. So I think it's a fun game. I'm not necessarily in love with it, but I do enjoy these type of games. I think they're great for when you are kind of I'm not really necessarily in the mood for anything. I'm just gonna kind of like zone out and play this game. Same reason I play Loop Hero, Monster Train, stuff like that. It is just engaging enough to keep you in there and not get bored, but it's also like such a simple enough experience that I don't have to sit there and stress out about it either. So I really appreciate this type of game.
Yeah. Anything else? All right. Well, first off, I just want to say I committed the biggest sin ever of Plus Club. I've never done this before. I didn't tell anybody what this game is. I typically let people know what the game is before we go into our impressions, and I didn't do that. So I guess I'll just do it right now real fast, even though we're already in this and you probably know because you've been looking at the screen. Slay the Spire is a card game where you choose paths, go down them. They're random every single time. You use your deck and build your deck as you go to fight against enemies and try and get as far as you can. When you die, you just repeat it. Eventually, you can unlock other characters with other decks. And as you progress those characters, you get more cards for those decks. You can upgrade cards as you go in your runs, all that kind of stuff. You probably already know, but I completely forgot to do that, which is fucking wild because I've never done that before. All right, so I'll jump into my impressions now. I don't like card games. I'm not a big card game guy, and it's hard for me to even humor playing card games because, and this isn't an insult to them, it's just you have to invest time to get good at them, learn the ins and outs of everything, learn the cards, all that shit. And so this movement of making these like more simplified card games has been more accessible for someone like me because you can get the ropes of it pretty quickly, but there's still complexity there. I think Slay the Spire was the game that really set that into motion. Of course, there's been card games before it, card games after it, but after it, a lot of games were heavily inspired by Slay the Spire, and I think for good reason. So I played this in the past already. I'll probably play it in the future. I have it on my phone, but playing it on PS5 was a good experience. Having played it on PC, played it on my phone, played it on PS5, I actually really like the way it feels on a controller, which sounds weird. It's a fucking card game. But going through the cards with the D-pad and just clicking one and then just activating it has a more tactile feeling. It just feels better than like on your phone touching a card and pulling it to the person you want to use it on. That gets kind of annoying after a while. And then on PC, you're using the mouse to do that. It's almost my favorite way to play this game was on a controller, which is really fucking weird. I didn't expect that. Like I said before, I really enjoy the simplicity of Slay the Spire while also having the ability for deeper strategy, especially as you unlock the other classes. I really enjoy it. Like you said, it's easy to just hop in that game and just play it to waste some fucking time. That's why I got on my phone. I was like, if I'm just like bored somewhere, I can just fucking play some Slay the Spire for a little bit. So it's really good for that. You can play it like endlessly. You're gonna die eventually, so you just like you just restart, level up the class you're playing, and keep continuing, and hopefully getting a good run. It's got that roguelike formula that's really easy to keep playing, but there is progress, so that keeps me coming back. And yeah, I mean, the formula is really, really good. It's really simple, really addictive. A lot of games have followed it since, and it works really well. My favorite of the classes that I played was he's like a more defensive orb using guy. He can cast elements, and he passively attacks after his turns. So if you build up his orbs, he just does different elemental attacks after you've already done your attacks and your moves. And I really like to play him and build up his defenses and just let people hit me and they take damage. And then like after my turn, they take more damage. So you're just like piling on. And yeah, he's a lot of fun. The other guy who essentially builds up debuffs on the enemy and then, is able to kill them quickly. He's a lot of fun too. But all these characters you can play in different ways too, depending on what cards you're getting in that run. There's been a couple runs where I'm like, fuck, I'm not getting the card I typically get for this. So I kind of think outside the box. So like I said, there's a simplicity to it, but there's also a strategy there that you can play with. And then also the randomness of the runs. You have to get creative in the way you play it. So it's a really good, mild strategy game that's just involved enough that I'm enjoying myself, but not overly complicated where I'm like, fuck, it's gonna take me years to get good at this card game, because you're not going against people. Visuals are fine. They're not impressive. They're not anything to write home about. But for somebody who I assume when they made this game was probably a pretty small dev, they said to get a visual for you to see what's happening. So I appreciate that. There's definitely an atmosphere to the game, but I don't play this game for the visuals. You could completely change the visual style of this game altogether. And if everything stayed the same otherwise, I would just keep playing it. I don't care about the visuals. They're not that great, and they could definitely be better or worse. So whatever. But the core concept of the card game, I think, is a lot of fun, and I think it's super accessible. I don't want to get into recommendations too much, but if you're somebody who's not into card games, I would give it a try, because I don't like card games either typically. So I'm with you, and I want you to be with me playing fucking Slay the Spire. Maybe. Sarah, what are your thoughts on Slay the Spire?
I think you kind of nailed it.
I do that, dude.
I think that it kind of does this really simple but engaging, like, strategic gameplay really well. I don't normally play deck building games. I don't normally like them. I think they can tend to be a little bit, like, overcomplicated sometimes, and then it just feels a little bit tedious. And so I think that this game just does it really well. Like, it's simple, it's straightforward, but you can still, use strategy. I like that you can see what the enemy is going to do. Kind of adds that element of, like, planning and strategy, and it doesn't just feel like random chance, which I also sometimes dislike about games like this. And when you really, like, get a combination of cards that works well, it feels really rewarding. I think I like that the experience always feels a little bit different. I imagine if you play it enough, you'll lose that eventually, but early on, there's some randomness that kind of keeps you on your toes. Yeah, it was I had fun playing it, but it's just not super my style.
Not pulling you back.
Yeah,
You're not feeling that itch. I gotta go home and play fucking Slay the Spire.
Yeah, I don't know that I would play it again, but I liked it. It was fun. A well done game.
Sick. All right. And unless you guys have anything else to say, let's jump into recommendations. I think the easy one is card games. If you like card games, also if you like roguelikes, with the caveat that you like card games. Even if you don't like card games, though, I would recommend it to you, especially if you like roguelikes and you like repeating something over and over and over again, trying to get further and further and further. That's what this game is. If you like strategy games, if you like endless games that have randomness to it, if you like deck building games, which is essentially a card game, but there's kind of a difference of, like, collecting cards and building up decks as opposed to, fucking poker. So definitely different. And I don't know, loosely, if you like fantasy games but also you want to play with cards, because that's what this is. Anything else you guys want to add?
You're the type of person who needs to be doing multiple things at once. It's a good, like, second monitor type of thing.
Oh yeah.
You're watching YouTube on one screen and you want to play games still. This game definitely fits into that category due to the turn-based nature of it. So, it's really good for that. I would put it up there with Loop Hero. I brought it up twice now, but
sure.
that has been kind of my second screen game for a long time, and I think this game fits right into that category.
Yeah, I agree. Also, we're not reviewing it on phone, but I would recommend, if you want a good game to pass time on your phone, Slay the Spire is on mobile, so check that out as well. Not paid. This is not an advertisement. Anything else? Anything?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The biggest thing, it's for who you think it is, but the biggest thing is, like, if you think you're not into card games at all or deck builders, you should check it out still, because I'm not either. So yeah. I get where you're coming from, and it's enjoyable. It's not the best thing ever, but it has spawned a lot of really cool ideas. Play Inscription as well, because that game's fucking sick. And Monster Train and Griftlands. That's another cool one. That one's almost like a choose your own adventure Bethesda type game, but it's cards. So it's really interesting. All right, so let's jump into grades. Let's start with Sarah. What would you grade Slay the Spire?
I would grade it a B+.
All right. Anything else to add to that, or?
Nope.
All right, Chevy, what would you grade Slay the Spire?
I am also feeling a B plus. I think it is well made. It does what it's supposed to do. If I were to improve anything on it, it would be the visual fidelity of it.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest. Like, if it had like a stronger visual style, I think it would benefit a lot from that because the core concept's good. Yeah. I'm also gonna give it a B plus, almost an A minus. I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. I can play it for a while. Like, I was like, I gotta play for the show, and I just kept playing. I unlocked the classes and shit. I'm like, oh, okay. So almost an A minus, but I don't love it. And there is things that could be improved. So hopefully, a Slay the Spire 2 is in the works, and it's gonna be real sick. But it's definitely a good game. It's better than average, and it has kind of redefined a genre in a way that has made it accessible and fun for more people. So it definitely deserves a higher grade. So yeah, B plus, easy. Anything else?
No, I think it's like just a really solid game. I also found myself just kind of playing it without thinking about it, but I don't know. I just don't feel strongly about it. I just think it's a good game. Well done.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of Slay the Spire. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you play it as a card deck builder fan or not a card deck builder fan? And what'd you think of it from that perspective? Is there other card deck builder games that you're a fan of that you would want to recommend in the comments? And what would you grade it? Let us know in the comments below. All right, second game we played this month was Spongebob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. If you don't know what that is, it is a platformer, a 3D platformer from the PS2 era. It came out, I think, in like 2000 something. It was early on. It was like 2009 or some shit. I don't remember. But maybe 2003. Anyway, it was a while back. It's a fucking old game. In it, you play as SpongeBob and all of his friends running around collecting spatulas in different locations while a story plays out that's quite a bit more built up than I was expecting, but we'll talk about that. And yeah, it kind of follows a Banjo-Kazooie formula where you go to different zones. Once you get enough spatulas, you collect more spatulas and other currencies, and you just keep continuing forward. It has multiplayer, but we didn't try that out, so I can't speak on that. And yeah, who started last time, Chevy? Let's go with Sarah. What were your impressions of SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated? In April.
I was surprised at how in-depth the story was. I'm not a SpongeBob fan.
You're not?
No, I probably, if anything, dislike SpongeBob. So that already started me at a negative, but I did not enjoy this game.
Damn.
I felt myself getting frustrated playing it. I just feel like it's the gameplay. I mean, I get it's like, you know, from a different like generation of
era,
games,
dude, bygone era. It's archaic.
But this is also like supposed to be the remaster or whatever, and so they should have modernized it in some way. But the gameplay is so simple, and I didn't find it to be engaging really at all. I didn't enjoy playing it. I don't know if this game is supposed to be for children. I kind of felt like maybe it was, and maybe that, you know, is why it's so simple. But yeah, I just found a lot of it to be tedious, and not like in a good way, not like the game is like difficult and challenging, just kind of like, oh, I have to do this again. So I like that there's different characters. It kind of gives you a little bit of variety in the gameplay, at least. But I think that the controlling the characters felt good. Yeah, it looks pretty good
Yeah,
for what it
I had
is.
no idea it was a PS2 game until someone told
Yeah,
me.
yeah. So in that aspect, I think it's pretty good. I yeah, I didn't like the gameplay very much.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, I'll jump in next. So, I'm actually on the opposite side of this a bit, in the sense that I actually thought this game was better than I thought it was going to be. I'm not a big platformer guy. Of course, when I was younger, I played all the platformer games, enjoyed them a lot. I got a lot of nostalgia for that. And it's just not really my genre. But hopping into this kind of reminded me of like the older days of platforming. Like I said, it kind of follows like a Banjo-Kazooie formula, or even a Mario 64 formula, which I think is a tried and true formula. The platforming is good. The abilities are interesting because as you play through these maps, there are things you can't access until you have certain characters that have abilities to do certain things. So there is a strong like Zelda type, like, oh, I got to come back here later once I get the thing that can let me through this or do this, which is if you're into that like Metroidvania kind of thing, you might dig it for that. But I thought that was interesting. It adds depth to the maps that they made. They you're running through, you beat the boss, you leave, but there might be a reason to come back later. But yeah, I was impressed with the graphical overhaul. I couldn't tell this was a PS2 game. I didn't know. Somebody told me that. I was like, oh shit! I thought maybe it was like a PS4 or PS3 game. So they did quite a bit with the visuals. It's SpongeBob, so it's fucking colorful and cartoony, but it's very clean looking. And I think it could pass as a modern day platformer. It's not the best one, but it definitely platformers are kind of tried and true. Like, you just got to be able to jump around in smooth and effective and responsive ways and have interesting things to do, and you pretty much have nailed it. I was impressed with the amount of story that I had to sit there and watch. I'm not too particularly interested in myself, but if I was a kid or somebody who's into SpongeBob more, I'd probably feel right at home like I'm watching a SpongeBob movie or episode. They could have literally just had this game start up and SpongeBob could have been like, well, I need a spatula, and then you just start, and any kid playing the game would be like, okay, I better get the SpongeBob spatulas. But it's got like this whole story arc happening with all the characters you know and love from SpongeBob. And you get to explore Bikini Bottom. You get to go to all these locations from the show. So I feel like when THQ made this back in the day, because I looked it up, I feel like they really gave a fuck about this, which is nice because a lot of like tie-in property games like this, can just feel like, well, we got to make it. But this actually felt like they're trying to make like a legitimate platformer for SpongeBob. I do think it's targeted for kids for sure, but I think it's targeted for everybody as well, kind of like Lego games. I'm not a big fan of those either, but so it's not really my genre. But I do appreciate games that can be played by everybody. So this game definitely has that vibe. And yeah, I mean, it was a good looking game. It's clean. It's a good remaster. It doesn't look like a PS2 game. It's got all the SpongeBob you need if you're into SpongeBob. The platforming is more than passable. I think it's decent. It's not the best, but it's good enough. And the locations are varied and bosses easy, but especially after playing Elden Ring and then playing this right after, I was like, oh yeah, this is whatever.
That's not fair.
I know. I was just thinking about when I was playing Elden Ring. I was like, that's another thing just kind of backing up. Like, wow, that boss barely existed. But they got stuff going on that kind of reminds me of like the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo era of bosses, where like you got to do something 3 times to defeat them. Had that very gamey feel to it, and I regret not trying out the multiplayer because I'm curious about what that component was. But overall, it was fine. I didn't have a bad time playing it. I just don't know if I'll ever come back to it because I don't really have a strong affinity for SpongeBob, and I'm not a big platformer fan. But it's a decent platformer for sure. Chevy?
Yeah. You both have kind of mentioned the age of the game, and I'm just gonna kind of also bring that part up. It being a PS2 game and how old most of us were when this game came out versus what we are now. The game didn't age with us, so it is definitely a very simple game for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think it translated well in that regard, but SpongeBob lasted a pretty long time, so there still should be plenty of young people, I think, to entice, I guess, with this title. They did do a good job cleaning it up, though. Gameplay wise, it is definitely a product of its era, and its age demographic. So it is not super engaging for I think adults to play. I also was a little too old for SpongeBob when SpongeBob came out, so I did not grow up watching it. So I have no affinity for the characters or anything.
Yeah, we're all boomers.
So yeah, I felt pretty lost playing the game for the most part in the story regard, and mildly annoyed by the humor, but it's outside of it just not being something I grew up with. I'm also not the right person for that kind of stuff, anyways.
You need like a Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy game.
Ren and Stimpy would do it. I think Beavis and Butthead would be annoying at this point in my life.
Dude, the one for Sega Genesis, that game was fucking sick.
I vaguely remember. I'd have to refresh my memory on that. I think it played okay. It's a little stiff, but it's not like crazy bad. It's totally playable. It had some weird, oddly tight, like if you don't dodge at the right time, you're getting hit, which I don't know if that was intentional or not.
It's PS2, dude. Fucking better be good. There's no fucking easy mode.
Yeah, and then they did have the forethought, obviously, to have every character have their own gimmick to allow you to do different types of puzzles and mechanics throughout the game. So I think that was good, especially, again, we're talking about a game that is very old at this point. But I think in a similar vein to, I think what the current mood of this discussion is it's not really super engaging for me. I don't know if I'd replay it, but I do appreciate the work they put into it, and I do think it is a decent game for whoever the audience is for it. I'm just not that guy. So.
Yeah. Well, with that, does anybody have anything else they want to say? All right, let's jump into recommendations. I went first last time, so let's just throw it to Chevy. Throw some recommendations out there.
I mean, if you're a fan of SpongeBob, I think is kind of the first and foremost.
From what I understand, too, this is like the SpongeBob game. Like I've talked to a couple people, and they're like, "That's like the best SpongeBob game." And I was like, "I didn't know there's other SpongeBob games."
Yeah. If you're into platformers, games where you have to collect things, some light puzzle solving, like you kind of mentioned before, like Legend of Zelda titles and stuff like that. There's a little bit of all that here. If you are a fan of, something that's a little more lighthearted and not so serious as well, I think this is probably a good game to play. It does have a multiplayer feature, so people looking to play a game with a friend or even with their kids or something, this game has that ability. Oh, you really got off the top of my head right now.
Sarah, got anything to add?
I would recommend this game to people who like SpongeBob and maybe who don't play a lot of games. I actually can think of one person off the top of my head I would recommend this game for.
I recommend it to people who don't play games.
Well, I just think like if you're, as someone who's like really into platformers, I felt like this game was kind of lazy in like a platforming aspect. So, like kids, I think, great. Again, I know someone who's really into SpongeBob who doesn't play a lot of games, and I'm like, I bet she would love
Bob.
this game.
Probably.
Oh shit, she's not Bob.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll reiterate, SpongeBob, if you're into that, this like I have heard, it's the best one, according to a couple people I've talked to, and some sentiment I've heard on the internet. Yeah, platformers, especially of the 64 era, I would say. PS2 as well, obviously, because it was on PS2. So if you're into platformers of that era, the 3D platformers, I think you'll be right at home with this one. It follows a lot of the same beats as those games. If you like the Lego games, I would recommend it to you. It has a the same simplicity to it, but you might be able to enjoy it if you're into collecting stuff, like Chevy said earlier. So yeah, for me personally, I think of it as like one of those Lego games because they're meant for kids, but they're also meant for everybody. Everybody plays them. Both games I'm not super into. And yeah, I can't really think of anything else. It's like legit just a SpongeBob platformer. And so if that sounds legit to you, as a platformer, it's not bad. So check it out. But if you're not a platformer, it's not a SpongeBob, I wouldn't recommend it to you probably. So, because you're probably just going to play and go, well, I don't give a fuck about SpongeBob. I'm like, well, it's not for you. Yeah, so let's grade it. I guess I'll grade it first. Fuck, I am conflicted. Fuck. I'll just go high. I'm gonna give it a B+ as well. It's a good remaster for what I played. They did a good job modernizing it visually. I think the gameplay translates well to the modern day. It's not as good as current platformers, but I think it works fine. And there's plenty of stuff to do in it. And yeah, I think it was worthy of a remaster for the people who were really happy, or not happy, really stoked about it back in the day. And I don't got a whole lot of complaints. I kind of wanted to give it a B, but I do think as a remaster they didn't fuck it up. So I wanted to give it a little extra points for that. And yeah, I wasn't bored, but I won't play it again. So Chevy,
I'm gonna give it a B-. Honestly, for a lot of the same reasons. I do think they did a good job remastering it, but I do think the game's age shows a lot in its gameplay. It still is completely competent, don't get me wrong, but it's very, very, very basic. And I think there are just so many platformers that exist now that it doesn't really hold up. So, but I don't think it's a bad game. So I'm not trying to like punish it. I do think it is above average for sure.
Yeah.
I had zero issues outside of just personal interest. So,
yeah. All right. So B+, B-. Sarah, what are you going with?
I feel like I'm being super critical of this game, but
You hate this game, just admit it.
I would grade this like a C-.
Okay.
I didn't really enjoy it. Yeah, I felt like it was tedious. I feel like it looks fine. I think they could have done more to modernize the gameplay.
Yeah. That'd be a brand new game.
a remake.
Well, they could have just done, I don't know, like swapping characters. I feel like shouldn't be finding some place to do it. You could just push a button to switch characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one thing that I thought
that
was
is definitely
a
more
unnecessarily
old school,
tedious. Yeah,
that's definitely an old school mechanic in a game for sure. Nowadays, they're just like, do anything you want by pressing one button. Yeah, I mean that's a good solid criticism of it. So, anything else? All right, well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. I'm so glad I don't have to say that again. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you play it back in the past? Are you coming back and returning to it? What do you think about it as a remaster? What do you think about it as a platformer in 2022? And do you like SpongeBob? Did you watch it back in the day? Are you a boomer? Are you not a boomer? Are you maybe you're Gen Z and you're like, I don't fucking know anything about that. I don't know. Did they? SpongeBob has been around for fucking ever, dude. Like I was like pretty young when it was like popular. Not a kid, but yeah, it was like it's still people still know it. Like it's fucking crazy. That's like I was talking about the other day, like Pokemon, dude. Like I was buying Pokemon cards in like 5th grade. I'm 35, and people are fucking buying and selling Pokemon cards and playing Pokemon still.
Pokemon's not going anywhere.
It's wild, dude. Like some properties just fucking last forever. Yeah, let us know what you think about in the comments below. Last game we played in April was Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. If you did not get a chance to play Hood, Outlaws, and Legends, it is a 4v4 PvP and a 4v NPC PvE game where you play as heavily stylized versions of characters from Robin Hood, being like Marion, Hood, as they call him, or Robin. What do they call him? Hood? Robin? Robin, yeah. And then the big guy, I forgot his name. John. Little John. And yeah, they've got these like super dark stylized versions of these characters that you play as, who all have their own attributes and perks that you can unlock as you play them. Essentially, the gameplay in PvE and PvP consists of 4 people stealthily, hopefully, play the game right, searching for the chest in a random map. You start at a different spot every time, even the same map. You have to find where the chest is at. You have to find where the sheriff is. The sheriff is a giant dude in fucking armor who will kill you instantly. Think Tyrant or Nemesis in a Resident Evil game. And you have to steal the keys off of him. That's step 1. Locate the vault, step 2. And then step 3 is to extract the chest. Step 4 is to anchor the chest out of the map. You have to complete that to win. In PvP, that is you versus another team of 4 doing the same heist against each other. So you're fighting each other. And then in PvE, it's just you versus the NPCs doing the exact same thing. And yeah, all the characters have their own perks. They have their own outfits you can unlock and weapon styles, different visual styles for those, and a bunch of other little things in the game. We all played it. I'll start first with my impressions. So I have to say this just because I always, like to be transparent about stuff. I played Hood back when it came out originally. I bought it on PC, and my initial impression back then, because it didn't have the PvE yet, it felt like a cool idea that they didn't nail because of certain things that I'll get into, because some of the things haven't changed. So I played it a little bit. I wanted to love the game, but I couldn't at the time, and I stopped playing it. So returning to it has been fun for 2 reasons. Seeing the state of Hood, but also seeing what it's like on a controller. And starting with the second thing, the game feels better on a controller to me than on mouse and keyboard. The reason for that is because the left analog stick feels better sneaking around in third person than a WSAD. Of course, a mouse is better to aim with, but a lot of this game, for me, when I'm playing Marion the most, that was my main, I'm sneaking up on people hitting square a lot. So the aiming factor is not a huge issue for me, and it's not anyway, because I can aim on a controller just fine. But the overall experience on a controller I prefer over the mouse and keyboard. So this was already a positive for me in terms of playing it on PS5. The game looks clean, looks like the PC version on PS5, so that was nice to see. The game runs mostly smooth. There is latency that's happening, though. It seems like it's server side. Multiple times, at least once a match, I run into a situation where something's happening and then everyone teleports to different locations as if this event's been happening and I haven't been present for it. I see a guy on my team running and running in a direction and fucking to the NPCs to go chasing him, and then all of a sudden they're just gone. I'm looking for them, and they're down the road further. So yeah, there's definitely latency in the game that happens pretty regularly, but not to the point where the game feels broken. But it does affect gameplay when it does happen, and it sucks. Other than that, though, the game runs really smooth on PS5. That's what I played it on. I think that's what we all played it on, and yeah, so the experience there was good. So I enjoy, for the most part, the gameplay of the game. It does consist a lot of sneaking around and stealthing. Some people don't know that for some reason, and they just run in and get killed. So I'm going to tell you right now, this game, no matter what class you're playing, is a stealth game. So make sure to sneak around and fight only if you have to. I do like that because I love stealth games, and I think it's a pretty competent stealth game. It's not the best, but it works. The stealth works decently. If you're in front of them, they have a little meter that starts building up, and if it fills up, they go into alert mode, which exacerbates things because gates shut all over the place, and it gets harder to maneuver and get out of the place you're at. And yeah, if you sneak up behind them to the side, you can typically take them out pretty quickly, depending on who you're playing. Played a couple different classes, and Marion's stealth is a lot better than a lot of the other characters, and so I really liked playing her a lot. Combat is okay when you're fighting. It could be better. It feels kind of clunky, but the game is also not wanting you to fight unless you have to. So it kind of gets a pass, but at the same time, it could be better. It doesn't feel that intuitive. So yeah, the abilities are fun though, and the team coordination is fun when it happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, if you're playing with friends, it's a lot of fun. And the mode I think is really cool. I think it's a really cool idea that I wish they would expand on more and put more thought into maybe. But the core idea is really cool. I love the idea of scouting for an object, finding it and extracting it in a stealth manner, and then if shit goes crazy, you have to fight your way out of it. I like that formula. The problem in the PvP is once the chest is in play, once a team has found it, because you don't know where the other team's at, which I think is really neat. It's like a stealth versus game. It's kind of like Hunt, but not really, but kind of like it. Hunt Showdown. But yeah, once the chest is in play, it's chaos. Everyone's pissed. All the enemies, NPCs are running around. You see the other team through the walls and shit, and it's not... At that point, it feels kind of throwaway. It kind of sucks. The PvE is fun, but the final phase is ridiculously annoying. But I really enjoy playing it in PvE. I'm glad that they added that since the last time I played it. This game originally was supposed to be a 4-player PvE game. This was supposed to be story-based, and they decided not to do that and make a PvP game, which I think was a mistake. So I'm glad they met us halfway and released a PvE mode because I think that is a lot more fun. It is a lot more fun to play as a cooperative game for me personally. But there is something that I think they need to balance out a bit, and that is the final phase of a match when the sheriff is coming to destroy the crane that you're trying to lift the chest out of the map with. There's essentially a circle around it, and you got to stand in it. As you stand in it, it starts lifting the chest, and it takes a long time to leave the map. And you're essentially fighting waves and waves of dudes when you're doing this. And then the sheriff shows up, and you can't kill him, but you can knock him down, and he insta kills you, and he destroys the crane once he gets next to it. As soon as he gets near, it's over. It's instant failure. I like how definitive that is. I really enjoy that, like, oh shit, we can't fuck up. But there's not a lot of items that help with defending from him. There's a couple, but I hate that, like, you got to bring, like, in every party, like, 2 specific people for that end phase. I like that no matter how your party's built, it's possible to do it. And it is probably if you got some high skilled people, but this has got to be accessible to everybody. So it'd be nice if, like, you got four fucking Robins in there, or you got like 2 Marians and fucking one of the new chick, Ada, or fuck her name is. Just they should balance it and make sure every class has something that can fight against the sheriff a lot better than they have it now, because right now it feels like you have to have certain people in your party, and that kind of sucks. Yeah, but overall I think it's a lot of fun. I'm a big stealth game fan, so if your stealth is even half decent, I'm gonna like the game. Let's see, the unlocks are cool, the cosmetic stuff is cool. There is a bug, a big bug, that says that there is it's like a notification telling you that you have something unlocked, and every time you check it, it just crashes the game. That's happened to me over and over and over again. I was able to replicate it, and then somebody we played with said they experienced the same thing. So that is something they need to fix. There's perks in the game. There's not a lot of them. I hope they add more, but there is, and does change up your build, which I do appreciate. It makes you play differently. I just stacked all the best stealth stuff I could on Marion to make her more efficient. One of them was she moves faster while crouched, and she almost moves the same speed as people when they're like full on running. So that's really nice, because I like to get around quickly while being down low. And then she has another one where, like, every time you take out people, her special ability is she goes invisible, which is nice. You can just start killing people. And then every time she kills somebody with this perk, she recharges the bar that's emptying out as you play. So you can kind of keep that going longer. So it's really nice. So there's definitely some perks there that they thought about that are a lot of fun. And yeah, there's battle pass as well. So I feel like this game either is going to, and I think is going to go free to play, because the battle pass, I think, is where they're going to make their money with this game, if they're planning on making money with it. But there's a battle pass. I didn't spend money on it because I don't know how much I'm going to play this. That has cosmetics. And I think that's about everything I can think of. But overall, I like this game. I think it's a really cool foundation. I don't want to say solid. It's a really cool foundation that I want them to keep working on to make it into the game I think it deserves to be, because they got a lot of shit nailed. I think the visual style is cool. I like the idea of Robin Hood in a dark universe. I think the character models are fucking cool. They look like, they kind of look like Robin Hood they expect, but they also have like this dark tone to them. Like Robin just has like this cloak over his head where you can't even see his face. Like he's just like eerie and he's like a sniper. Like it's clever. Like I think it's a good idea. And then the idea of extracting the chest is a cool idea. There needs to be more modes, but it's a cool idea. There's a lot of really fucking cool ideas that I would hate to see wasted here, but it does fall flat in some places, and it does have technical issues, which sucks to say because I want this game to be awesome. But it was fun. So let's go. I had a lot to say on that game, but let's go with Chevy. What were your thoughts on Hood?
Man, so a lot of the gameplay stuff you said, I honestly just kind of agree with verbatim. So I don't really want to repeat all that. The only thing I kind of want to add is I had no latency issues at all. So
Oh, nice.
that's kind of
What's it
interesting.
like, dude?
Um,
Bragging.
I it was all right. I just when you said you did, I just wanted to put it out there that I don't think that's necessarily an everyone thing. So
You're closer to the router.
I am.
I'm not that far from it with my PS5. But yeah, that's a fair point.
And
to
it
bring up.
could just be it could just be the router. So
Yeah.
something to look into, I suppose. But the my biggest complaint about this whole game, outside of it, it is a stealth game and getting some rando who wants to play like an action game is frustrating.
Yep.
That's not the game's fault. What I do think is game's fault is, and you already brought it up, the third phase is utter bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even the sheriff. The sheriff's like the most balanced part of the third phase.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's the waves and waves of enemies mixed with the not so great combat system. If they improved all that, I think the game would be a fun experience.
It seemed like
but
you were
every time we
enjoying
get to
yourself until that.
yeah, but once we got to the third phase,
Yeah.
I wanted to shut the game off. It was just not enjoyable anymore. Because the game, like, you have minimal tools and they're good for like to get something done real quick, but then you're out of options unless you go run around, and you don't have a lot of time to do that because there's just like fucking a dozen dudes there, and your attacks are minimal. So
Yeah.
Something I think balance wise needs to be adjusted, whether it's less enemies, whether the combat is adjusted to be a little more viable. But then you're getting away from the stealth thing and you're getting more into an action thing. So it's kind of tricky, and it gives it a weird like mixed identity problem too, because it is a stealth game. There's no stealth in that phase.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
and in the PvP, the stealth goes out the window too at the last phase.
yeah, so
it's
it feels weird.
I wish there was options. I wish there was different ways to go about it. Because yeah, it in a game where it does go stealth or die, and then at the end it's like you got to fight people, and they're just gonna spawn right fucking here, and they're gonna show up and just start shooting at you and running in and attacking you, and then the sheriff's coming, which I agree. Like I said, I like the idea of how like critical it is. Like he shows up, you're fucked. I like that part because you have to strategize and work together. But it's exacerbated by the clunky and lazy just spawning of fucking random enemies to keep you busy. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be enemies, but they should place them or scatter them in a less like programmed way. It literally feels like somebody just on a map editor just dumped some fucking spawn points like right in front of you, and you're just like, fuck, okay. And then yeah, the sheriff's coming, which there is strategy to it. You can like lure him further away. You can do all sorts of stuff. So you're right when you said like that does feel like the most fair part of it. But it is
he's
not
fine.
it is not an enjoyable end phase in a game that otherwise I am enjoying. I play up to that part. I'm like, okay, here we go. But everything else before that I enjoy. So yeah.
Yeah, and even in voice chat, we had 3 people, in voice chat and 1 random person. The third phase is still difficult to work around, just because it really stacks it against you, whether it's intentional or it's just in just the game design itself. So, and to on a note for the spawns as well, there was a point in which, there was an alert happening, and I watched four people spawn in the sky and fall down onto the map. So,
Yeah, I didn't
uh,
see that, but I remember you said that when we're playing.
yeah.
I think
So,
Psycho saw it too.
I think, like you said, there's some good ideas here, but I feel like it's super undercooked, and I think the final phase just wasn't thought out very well.
I think they
Uh,
need to scatter the
these are
spawn points and make them more organic feeling, and I think they also need to make. I like that the sheriff kills it instantly, but I think it'd be better if he came up and started kicking the thing, even like a couple kicks. I don't care. But then if you attack him, he goes back into combat, tries to fight you. So there is a chance of going like, oh shit, he's on it. We gotta stop him, and then you can try and fight him, and then he'll start killing people and shit, and go right back to it. It wouldn't change much, but I think it would add more tension to that. But like once he enters that fucking circle, it's over. You're just like, okay, well,
when
I
I,
guess we fucking failed.
I think to add to that as well, I think if they added difficulty scaling, with a scaling reward structure as
Yeah.
well. If you had an easy mode, and if easy mode was he comes up and starts kicking it, and you still have time to deal with that situation, but at the cost of a lesser reward, versus you could have like a hardcore mode where he
You
enters the
just
circle,
bust
it's
it, yeah.
over, but you get bonus rewards,
Which
right?
would give you
There's
perfect time to build up and get your perks unlocked and shit to do that. But in this, like, you just have a mode that's not necessarily super hard, but kind of challenging. But for me, mostly just fun, running around stealthing people, and then a really fucking hard end part. And it's like there's no scaling. Like you better just get good at that fucking end part.
Yeah, so I think they have a lot. If they want to continue working on the game and like make it a long-term thing, I think that's something they should address. I'm one person. What's my opinion matter? I'm not, quote unquote, part of the community of this game, because I honestly don't intend to keep playing it. But um, yeah, I mean that's pretty much the general thoughts. Otherwise, the gameplay loop was fine. Like I
Hmm.
enjoyed the cooperative nature of it. So.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I enjoy it for the most part too, but just it has some critical failures. And then when I'm playing it, and it's a fun stealth game for sure, but every time I play it and something kind of annoys me, I'm like, man, fucking Ghost of Tsushima Legends is like so much better than this. It's also a stealth
Yeah.
co-op game, like, and that was free. Like, so is this, I guess, on PlayStation Plus. But it just always makes me it reminds me that game exists, and I'm like, should I go play that? Like that should not be what happens when I'm playing this game. So, yeah. Anyway, anything else? All right, Sarah, give it to it.
I think this game really relies on its multiplayer experience, which really depends on who you're playing with. If you're playing with friends, then I think that adds a lot to this game. If you're not, then I think it takes a lot away from the game. I really like the lore and like the idea behind this world that I wouldn't even say that they created the world, because I just don't think they did enough to do that. But they have this like start of an idea that like guided the design of the characters and stuff that I think is really cool, and I wish that they would have done more with that, because
That's
it's
my
like this. What?
That's my opinion on the whole game. Wish they would did more with that.
But they have this really cool idea and all this like rich lore that they put this like really cool twist on, and then just like didn't touch it, which I think is really disappointing. I like the idea of it being like a heist game. It's it's in this world, like kind of a unique, interesting idea. I felt like the classes felt unique, which was cool. I think the combat is not good. I think the AI is not good. And I think that you know, while it is a stealth game, they put you in positions where you're forced to do combat, and it really takes away from the game because the combat's not that engaging, not that fun, and the AI is bad. I thought the stealth was fine, maybe a little bit basic, but enjoyable. Yeah, I just think in general this game could have been so much more. And while I enjoy the experience, if I'm playing with friends and like playing strategically, it's just disappointing. I feel like so many ideas here that just they like mentioned one time and they were like, okay, well this is fine, instead of like trying to come up with like creative gameplay or like creative ideas or a thoughtful experience. So
yeah, that's my biggest frustration is like they already got a cool thing going on, but they just haven't fully realized it. It's like, fucking hire me on, dude. Like, I'll give you fucking like the ideas you need to make this game great. Like, you already almost are there. You just have all these little fucking things and a couple major things that you just gotta fucking blow up and reconstruct or fucking just add to, and you'd have a completely solid game.
Yeah, it just feels like a huge oversight. Like,
yeah,
like it's almost just like if you just spent a little bit more time thinking about it.
Yeah, we're less
like,
about your fucking battle pass. Like,
yeah, like
put work into the game. The PvE was like a good step, so at least they're working towards shit. But I'm glad they added a new character. That was cool. But there's just things they gotta fucking fix to make the game like a completely enjoyable experience. Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else?
Nope.
Nothing? Okay, let's jump into recommendations. This one's going to be kind of hard because it is a very niche game and it's not the best of that niche. So I couldn't even like really hard recommend it to a lot of people, but loosely, because I love Hunt Showdown. If you like the idea of a like game like Hunt where you're fighting against NPCs and real people while trying to accomplish the same goals, and you have to fight people sometimes, even though in this you have to fight them, you might want to check this out. It's not even in the same ballpark as Hunt, but it's kind of similar in that sense of like you are doing NPC and actual player gameplay. That's a fun dynamic until the last part of the match. If you like stealth games, specifically multiplayer co-op stealth games, I would definitely recommend this because there's not enough of those. There's like fucking none. Where are they? Ubisoft, make a good Splinter Cell, make it fucking co-op. Shout out to Origami 2. That's a fun little indie game. That's a stealth game. And then, of course, Ghost of Tsushima. I like I'm just recommending other games during the recommendations for this. If you like Robin Hood, there's not a whole lot of Robin Hood games out there, and this is a kind of a cool take on it. Although, like you said, they don't explore it enough, but it is stylistically cool. I look at it, I'm like, oh, I kind of like what they're doing here. I like that the sheriff's this big tyrant dude who just walks around and murders people, but there's nothing to like chew on with it. But if you're into like into Robin Hood and you think the dark aesthetic's cool, it might be worth checking out. Yeah, if you like challenging, in some ways feeling unfair, challenging cooperative gameplay, and feeling like, well, we got our strategy down, we fucking wreck this every time, you probably like this game. It's just you're gonna have to do the same strategy every single time to beat it, and that's boring. Yeah, I can't think of a whole lot more games where you unlock cosmetics through gameplay and perks. The game has a neat system too, where every time you beat a match, you have a scale, a two-sided one, whatever the fuck those are called, that has the money you accrued from that match, and you can either take all of it or give it to the people, which upgrades your hideout, which gives you new rewards. So that's kind of a cool system. Not that that's a recommendation. What game has that? But I just never mentioned it. And you guys think of something? I can't. It's very specific, like co-op stealth game.
I don't think I really have anything for it.
Yeah.
I think if you like co-op stealth games and you have friends to play with, you could try this one
Nobody.
out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely try to play with people that you can communicate with, because there's a lot of confusion on how to play this game, and there's a lot of not communicating. So it's not a good mix. Luckily, it doesn't have the Midnight Ghost Hunt community where everybody's just screaming and farting and saying obscenities. But it is a very quiet game, and I'm like, you need to communicate. It's got a pinging system though, so that's good. I'll give them that. Yeah. Any other recommendations from anybody? No. Who graded last? First? Fuck it. Let's go Chevy. What would you grade Hood?
I mean, honestly, because of my frustrations with the constant third phase issues, I'll probably give it a C plus. I think the game really needs some balance changes. I don't need it to necessarily be easier. I just need it to like feel good. Is really the problem. I don't think it feels good. I mean, I'm playing Elden Ring. It's not really like a difficulty issue here. So
Yeah.
it's more so like I just don't feel like I'm given the tools. So, or the game is like intentionally stacked against me in a unfair way. I think if they fix that, it could bump it into B's. But I think that point alone puts it just above average for me.
Yeah. All right, so C plus. I'll grade it next. So I got to really break this down because I'm so fucking conflicted. On paper, the idea, I want to give it an A minus. I think it's fucking an awesome idea, and I think they got some really cool stuff going on here. When I'm playing the game and I'm enjoying myself, I want to give it a B plus because I'm having fun. I have a lot of fun when I play this shit, and I would be giving all the games this month a fucking B plus, which would make it a pretty strong contender for me for the best month of Game of the Month, which we do every year. Make sure to stay tuned for that. But there is some fucking heavy problems in this game, and I can't overlook those. So I'm going to give it a B minus because when I'm enjoying it, I'm digging it. When I'm not enjoying it, I just kind of fucking... mostly I'm just disappointed because I'm like, you're almost there. You almost have a solid game here, and this is fucking it up. So I can't go C, but I'll go a very strong B minus, almost C plus as well. Just because I do enjoy a lot of factors of this game, but I can't fully enjoy it because of the things holding it back. So yeah, B minus for me. I almost feel bad giving it that, but I can't give it a C. When I'm liking it, like I'm really liking it. But yeah, that third phase is shit, and combat's horrible. But than that, I like most everything else about it. So Sarah. F.
I like the idea of this game, which is one of the reasons I think the game is so disappointing is because it feels like such a letdown.
Yeah.
I also didn't get to play this game with anybody this month. So it feels like the issues just become even more glaringly obvious.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to give this game a D.
Damn.
I think it's definitely below average. I think there's too many things that have to line up to make the game fun, and there's just too many issues with it. It doesn't even feel like a complete game. You know, like you mentioned, Ghost of Tsushima Legends feels like a more complete game, which was just a free addition to the game than this game does.
It's better than a lot of things.
And so I was super disappointed with this game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, this is gonna be way worse just playing with randos. So we got a D, a C plus, and a B minus. So pretty varied on that one, which is interesting. I think all fair too, because just how much of the pros and cons are you really experiencing and focusing on. So I get it 100%. Yeah, anything else anybody wants to say on this? Sarah dropped her first D, dude. It's fucking not gonna be the last one. Let us know in the comments what do you guys think of Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you not play it? If you didn't play it, why didn't you play it? if you did play it, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Was there any issues that we didn't bring up? Or maybe you want to expand more on the ones we already brought up. What are some things about it you did like? What do you think about the style? What kind of modes would you like to see added to this? We probably should discuss that, but we're running a little long. And what was your main? Mine was Marion. I also like the monk, which is weird because he's not typically the type of character I would play, but he's one of the best in combat, which is weird. You'd think the big dumb guy would be. And yeah, let me know everything you think about in the comments below when it comes to Hood, Outlaws, and Legends and the rest of the games we talked about. But that's going to do it for this episode of Plus Club for April. That's a wrap. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Check out our other episodes. They're all on the channel. Check out our links down below for our streams and our socials. And we got a Discord link down below as well. You can talk to us anytime, all the time. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms if you prefer to listen to us in audio form. And we also have video on Spotify, so check that out. And we have a Patreon if you'd like to support the channel more than liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing if you're brand new. I've been Seth. Thank you, Sarah, for joining me. Thank you, Chevy, for joining me. And thank you guys for joining me. Until the next episode, have a good one and take it easy.